Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's virtual event, Columbia Business School Insider with Dean Maglaras. My name is Dr. Sharon Smith. I am the co-chair of the Hermes Society. I'm also a class of 2014 Columbia Business School, and I'm a Women's Circle founder. It's my pleasure to officially welcome my fellow alumni, students, faculty, and speakers this morning. Now, this event is the first of several events that we have planned for our alumni, especially for the Hermes Society and all of the aspiring Hermes Society members out there. For each event, we plan to feature an array of topics that are critical to both the business school future and for the society and the community at large. So these conversations will allow us to learn from thought leaders, from researchers, from founders, and from distinguished business school leaders, and help us to link industry practices to the current CBS curriculum. This morning, we are going to hear from Dean Maglaras and Ed Moroni. After this quick introduction, Dean Maglaras will be updating us on some of the priorities for the business school for the upcoming year. And then following that, Ed Moroni will update us on our brand new, beautiful campus in Manhattanville and show you all of the tremendous progress that's been made over the past several years as we look forward to moving there in the spring semester. Hopefully, we'll have some time at the end for question and answers. At the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A button. So if you have any questions, please click on that button at any point during the conversation and submit your questions. Now, Dean Maglaras and Ed Moroni will take the audience questions via that Q&A function after their discussion. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Dean Costis Maglaras, the 16th Dean, and David and Lynn Silfen, Professor of Business at Columbia Business School. So welcome, Dean Maglaras.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you very much. Thank you for welcoming us. Thank you for all the work that you do at the leadership of the Hermes Society and the Women's Circle. And welcome to all of you for joining us this morning. It has been a really great start for the year. For a variety of reasons. One is that we just came back fully in person. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit, after about a challenging 18-month period that we all went through. But it's also an incredible milestone year in Columbia Business School's history because unbelievably to many of us, we are actually physically moving into a new campus in about 7 weeks. For many of us, this is something that we have been counting down for almost 2 decades. And now we're counting down in weeks. I would say Ed is probably counting down in days because there's a lot of work to be done and not enough work days between now and then. So it's incredible. Now, the past 18 months were challenging ones for all of us. And I want to thank each and every one of you for your help and commitment to the school and for your help. Here at the school, we came together over that period. We really prioritized, apart from the health of our own community, we did everything we could to have as much an in-person experience for our students during that period as we could. We did very significant percentage of what we call hybrid or high flex teaching, which means portion of the class was in person, the other portion were zooming in, and the in-person folks were rotating so that as many people as possible were coming into the classrooms. And more than any other school in the university and more than any other peer business school. And it worked well. And in addition to that, because of the economy is strong, all of our students graduating got incredible jobs and launched into interesting, engaging, and exciting careers. But what's good is that we're all now back in person. So this fall, We welcomed the largest class ever. We had 607 students in the fall entry class of this year. And all classes are in person. URIS Hall is humming and buzzing with activity. And we're all now ambitiously waiting for the time that all of this activity will move 5 blocks or 7 blocks north of here into our new campus. We're doing also very exciting things at the school. We're focusing on sort of broadening and increasing intellectual life at the school, thought leadership, curriculum development, experiential learning for our students, and in some sense introducing courses that are on the cutting edge to help our students in technology, digital transformation, leadership, and team dynamics in a cross sort of functional world that we experience now in our business settings. We're doing things on the future of work. We're doing things on the interface between business and society, and we're doing quite a bit on the topic of climate change and how it will affect business. All of these are, the fruits of all of that effort is coming into our classrooms actually as soon as next semester. Now, the other thing that we've done quite a bit, and I want to mention it to this group, is that the future of business, as we all know, belongs to a complex multicultural world, one that is diverse. It's welcoming to diverse perspectives, and we have done quite a bit of work, both in our thinking about how we need to be better here at the school, but also about the future of business education and scholarship and leadership to sort of support this change in the business ecosystem more broadly. Specific to our efforts, we had a sort of very intense period of about a year where 2 of my good colleagues, Modupe Akinola and Chris Mayer, led a task force to really study everything that we do here at the school on issues of race, diversity, and inclusion. And for students, staff, and faculty across sort of all aspects of our interaction. And we've drilled down to a sort of a concrete set of recommendations. Several of them have already been underway for a few years, but we're going to sort of focus and start chipping away in a very committed way to really make positive progress in that space. And one thing that we will do is that we're going to hold ourselves a little bit more accountable, or more accountable. So you will see in a few weeks, we'll publish our first annual report on diversity, equity, and inclusion that will have numbers. You will realize, you look at the numbers, and some of the numbers are not going to be good, but we'll keep counting and keep measuring and holding ourselves accountable, and hopefully over time we'll get better. So that's one thing that we will be announcing soon. It's coming. We're editing the last drafts of that right now. Now, switching back to the sort of exciting reality of the school, and Ed is going to sort of walk us through it in a bit. The school is in a time of incredible change, and it's a transformational moment for the school. That's how we call it, and it truly is. When you walk into our new campus, Henry Kravis Hall and David Geffen Hall, the 2 sort of buildings that are going to house the business school in the new Manhattanville campus, you'll realize that this is a completely reimagined manifestation of what the school is about. They have nothing in common to URIS Hall and Warren Hall that we all came to like or dislike. I have to tell you a little joke, which is a true incident, that after July of last year, so about 16 months ago now, people started coming back into URIS Hall. I mean, Ed was here throughout that period, but the rest of us started coming back in July and August, get ready for the students. And everybody was so happy to be back in URIS. It took a pandemic for people to actually appreciate URIS Hall. but our new buildings are truly a reimagined space, collaborative space, light, state-of-the-art facilities, classrooms that can we can actually do experiential learning in a much different way. Study rooms for our students that they can come together, work together, networking spaces. And so it's just going to be a brand new way of pursuing our own ambitions. And the facilities, the architecture, the design of this building will be a catalyst for that. Hopefully to bring people together, students, faculty, alumni, business leaders, and really the broader New York City community. Our new campus, as you know, is embedded in West Harlem. I mean, it's a thriving community. It's an entrepreneurial community. And we look forward to connecting, and we're doing things to connect with the local community partners, entrepreneurs, artists, expand civic spaces that people can use, create retail opportunities, and really be part of enhancing everything that happens in that area, which is West Harlem and the Hudson River Waterfront Park, which is right in our backyard. And I believe, hopefully we all agree, that through our move, our school will undoubtedly offer the most vibrant and valuable business school experience to our current, but also to our future students. And it will be really a center for thought leadership in the world of business, and a home for all of us, for faculty, for staff, for students, and alumni. Now, the Hermes Society, I'll say that, and I'll end my comments, and then hopefully we'll talk more at the end. The Hermes Society is our leadership giving society. Sharon was mentioning that in the onset, and is really the lifeblood of our annual fund. 80% of the annual fund that we collect every year really comes from leadership donors. And our annual fund supports really the school's top priorities. I would say overwhelmingly supports financial aid for the school, for our degree programs. And we need your help. We need the help of this leadership alumni society, and to support that. And we need your help in increasing the support of our annual fund. And we hope that you'll consider joining and making a leadership gift for $2,500 or more. But mostly we want you to really join this group of people that nurture, support the school in its strategic journey forward. Now, our journey forward is really about to accelerate, and I'll pass it to my partner and good friend, Ed Moroni, who is the Executive Director for Operations and for Manhattanville Planning. He hasn't been sleeping too much for quite some time now, but he is making sure that come January 4th, we'll open our doors to our students into the new campus. So Ed, why don't you walk us through a little bit on what our future looks like?
All right, sure. Thank you, Costis. I haven't been sleeping, but I've been enjoying that espresso at the faculty lounge. Let me share my screen, give you some images of Manhattanville. Okay. Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome from Uris Hall. I've been working on the front lines of our school's transformation on the Manhattanville campus since breaking ground in 2017. We're just half a mile north of Uris Hall. It's the area of West Harlem around far west 125th Street and a few blocks north of there. We're building two buildings separated by a public park on the block from 130th to 131st Streets, west of Broadway to 12th Avenue. 12th Avenue is the street that's below the Riverside Drive Viaduct with the great arches. The new buildings will be about as close to 125th Street subway station as Uris Hall is to 116th Street. 125th turns north and meets 130th Street at 12th Avenue. So we'll only be 2 blocks from the station. The building on the west is Henry R. Kravis Hall. It holds classrooms and faculty offices in a layer cake design. The floors with square corners are the faculty office floors, while the floors with curved corners are the classroom floors. The building is all glass with concrete trim. The different glass expresses the function behind. Offices have a frit, which is ground porcelain baked into the glass surface to provide some privacy to private spaces, while classrooms have a clearer glass appropriate to the more public function of that space. The building on the east is David Geffen Hall. It holds classrooms and administrative offices, such as student services, career management, financial aid, as well as classrooms. Here, the two functions are mixed on the floors, and the glass expresses that mix. You can see how it transitions from one glass type to the other as you move across the floor, with the classrooms behind the clear glass and the offices behind the white frit. Also in Geffen, on the third floor is the library. It's a small room holding only materials on course reserve, research terminals, and a librarian to help students and with research. The studying function is dispersed throughout the two buildings, and the books have been moved to the Lehman Library in IAB or to remote storage in Princeton, New Jersey. Geffen is 8 floors, while Kravis is 11. Geffen has these very cool cantilevers at the corners on every floor. The buildings are all about interaction, collaboration, communication, cooperation. They are networked, which here means that there are a series of elaborate and monumental stairs that link meeting rooms, lounges, and classrooms throughout the two buildings. The stairs and lounges are different on every floor. Here is the Elizabeth B. Strickler 86 and Mark T. Galogli 86 student lounge in Kravis Hall. The themes of openness continue up to the entire campus. It is the opposite of the Morningside campus, which is a private space surrounded by walls and gates. Manhattanville is open, public, part of the urban fabric. The city streets run through. The ground level of every building on the campus is clear glass, so that the indoors is transparent to the street and to the community. Here, the elaborate stair widens to become the Sandburg Commons, almost an indoor low library steps. And here is what the Sandburg Commons looks like today. The comparable location in Geffen is the Cooperman Commons, a 270-seat auditorium, which is also transparent to the community. It's like a crystal box being in that room. It's incredible. We are doubling our space, and much of that increase goes into spaces for interaction. A 40% increase in classrooms and a 60% increase in classroom seats, a 260% increase in meeting rooms, and a 97% increase in group study and breakout rooms. A whopping 925% increase in interview rooms. The interview rooms will be used for multiple purposes, especially if there is less demand from on-campus recruiters for live interviews. There are many spaces for community interaction in addition to the Sandburg Commons and Cooperman Commons. There is a banquet hall that can seat 216, or it can be divided to seat 2 events of 88. The Lulu C. Wang 83 Alumni Suite will house receptions for alumni and others, especially guests speaking in the Cooperman Commons. There is a 100-person dining room on the 10th floor of Kravis with a double height space and an outdoor terrace with views to the George Washington Bridge and beyond. There are many amenities for students, faculty, and staff, including the Walter and Shirley Bond 93 Wang underground link between the two buildings, a prayer and meditation room, an exercise room, and bicycle storage. The project is healthy and sustainable, with LEED Gold certification expected. Among other features, it uses less energy and provides more fresh air than required. It is really a massive undertaking, with about 500 people working on site every day, clocking over 2 million hours so far. And we'll be moving next month, with new J-term students arriving on January 4th, 2022. The predominant classroom is tiered with 74 seats. They are quite beautiful, Each is a corner with spectacular light and open views. The next few slides will show you how they are constructed. First, ductwork is installed on the ground. Then a tiered floor is installed on top of the ducts. Supports are installed for student desks. The desks are installed in wide with power, and voila, the finished class. Our architects are Diller, Scofidio, and Renfro. You might know them from the recent renovation at MoMA or the shed at Hudson Yards. They worked along with the FX Collaborative. We'll be the fourth and fifth buildings on the new campus. The others were designed by Renzo Piano. Most people probably drive through on the West Side Highway and don't see what a special location Manhattanville is. The Riverside Drive Viaduct is a remarkable feature that enhances our buildings from inside and out. And here we're on top of the viaduct at night. The trees are planted in the park between our two buildings, which was designed by James Corner Field Operations, who designed the Highline Park. I'm proud of the Manhattanville that we, the Columbia Business School community, have built together and look forward to welcoming you all on campus in the near future. Thank you for helping us make this vision a reality.
All right, thank you, Ed. So I guess we should take questions from people. And while we're waiting for questions to pop in the Q&A or the chat, let me just tell you some of the things that we're doing at the school. So we're putting a lot of emphasis in the area that I call digital transformation, digital future of business. So a lot of work that have to do with curriculum development. I have in my inbox 12 proposals from faculty to develop new courses in areas that our students perceive that there is opportunity for growth to better support them. And we're going to fund these proposals to get sort of going quickly in that area. We are doing quite a bit in entrepreneurship, both to support our current students, but also to support our alumni. So that's an area of emphasis for us. And in entrepreneurship, also to put our students, what I would say, at the center of entrepreneurial activity for the entire university. Doing a fair amount in what we call the future of finance, and both in financial technology and digital finance, but also in sort of asset management, areas that are changing, even investment banking, through technology and through sort of everything that is going on right now here. And we're exploring things to do globally. And we can talk about that more if you want. Last thing that we're doing, and I mentioned it earlier on, is we're reimagining, we're thinking, digital transformation has really changed the world of business over the last couple of decades, and it's going to continue to change that. And if we sit here and ask ourselves, what's going to change the world of business in the future, across disciplines, across industries, across the world, I think a good bet is that that's going to be climate change. How either we provide solutions or we adapt to it, we change our manufacturing process, we change our transportation habits, we change our supply chains, the products that we consume. And in some sense, we're investing in that area so that we can be a leader in that, both for our students and across the university. And we're leveraging, of course, the new climate school that just started here at the university. So it's exciting, many interesting things that are going on. We're also starting a new dual degree program with engineering. I had mentioned that when I started as dean, that we're gonna sort of design and launch such a program. We did that. We got slightly derailed during COVID, but we went back, we finished it, we got it approved, and now we're planning on how to admit the first class. So, exciting things are happening, and overall, we look forward to welcoming you physically in the new campus. Now, there are a couple of questions. The first is, how do we maintain a strong connection given the fact that with the rest of the university, given the fact that we're going to physically be moving? So we're working on that as well. We are particularly concerned about our links with schools with which we have strong ties. Some with arts and sciences, a lot of economics, a lot of engineering, the law school, SIPA. So we're coming up with interesting ways to ensure that these ties, both for the students but also for the faculty, will continue to exist. Now, engineering is already moving some small group of faculty members right across from Travis Hall. But engineering is slotted to potentially do a big new expansion building in Manhattanville at the second phase of build-out. So in some sense, this is currently being planned. The other thing is climate. I mentioned climate. Another possibility, active possibility right now, is that in fact, right next to Travis Hall, we're going to try to build a new building for the climate school. So in some sense, the intent is that a lot of activity will start concentrating around that new Manhattanville campus. So, it's not going to feel like an island which is separated from the main campus, but instead it will be a thriving new campus with strong connections to the school, strategic connections to the school. But in the meantime, we are actively thinking about how do we make sure that we don't miss our colleagues, the students sort of don't miss the activity that is happening on the two campuses, etc. Next question by John. John, your question is, what's going to happen to Uris Hall? So Uris Hall is going to go to arts and sciences, and there are plans right now about what they're going to do. I can tell you that there were many groups, but because like us, that we were stranded for space. Many other schools in the university are stranded for space. So Uris Hall, as much as we didn't like it and we wanted to move out, we're still being viewed as an incredible opportunity for everybody else. It's going to go to arts and sciences, and hopefully they're going to. I believe they plan to use it in the spring semester, and then start doing some work maybe later in the summer, do some renovation, and then sort of reintroduce it to ANS. Any other comments? So let me tell you some cool features in Manhattanville, given the fact that we have some time. There's going to be a game room in Manhattanville for our students and alums. It's going to be an incredible screening room to watch, I guess, the World Cup or games of that sort. When will we have in-person events such as the annual dinner? So we hope that we're going to start reintroducing in-person events in 2022. If you were to ask me, are we going to do 1,000-person dinner right now in May? Are we ready to plan for that? The answer to that maybe no, but we're getting there. I think, in some sense, we are beginning to sort of gently start to introduce sort of some in-person activity. For now, we're focusing in-person events, mostly with people from campus, with few people from outside of campus being allowed to come in. But I hope, I believe that in the spring that will start to sort of change, and certainly in the summer and fall, we will sort of allow for that to change. We also have the opportunity in the new campus to potentially do outdoor events in between the two buildings, and we may be able to hold bigger events there. So we'll see. Will alumni have IDs that give them access to the new buildings? Ed, what's the answer to that?
Yeah, so there is an alumni ID process managed by the library. So you can get an ID, an alumni ID at the Butler Library. That'll give you access.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'm curious, what's going to happen to Warren?
Well, that Warren seems for now that it's going to stay or go to the law school. If you remember, we were sharing Warren Hall with the law school, and it's going to go back to the law school. Interestingly, many people in the university did not know that the business school also had Warren Hall. And I remember I was talking to some people in central administration when they were telling me what's going to happen to URIS, and I asked them what's going to happen to Warren, and they told me, like, don't tell them that you also have Warren, you know, because otherwise there'll be 100 people waiting in line to sort of try to get that building as well. So it's Warren is likely going to be rolled back to the law school, and so they will have access to these classrooms on the sort of first, but mostly second, third, and fourth floor. So you know that's going to be an interesting change for them. Any? Yeah, go ahead.
Expand on the ID question. Is this something that can be done online, or do you have to do it in person?
I'm not sure. You know, it's not a business school process, but I'll find that and get you that information.
I mean, we want and we plan once we can start doing events to start inviting a lot of our alumni back into the new campus so that you can all experience this incredible transformation of the school together with us, and you know, experience the new home of the school and hopefully the new home for all of you to be associated with the school.
And there's another question about the future of finance.
Yeah, sure. So there are things that we're doing and we need to do more, I would say, in the area of digital finance, how technology is changing aspects of finance, from payments to retail banking to commercial banking. So there's a lot of effort on wealth management, a lot of effort in that area. Separately, there is my colleagues are working hard to sort of develop both electives, but also sort of opportunities for our students to get exposed to sort of how modern asset management works. So, you know, not to become quantitative quant researchers, but to understand how sort of models and portfolio construction and risk management, et cetera, are so integral in the process of investment management. And then there are also quite a bit of work that is going into even the courses like corporate finance, sort of evolving these courses. For example, how do you value data as an asset? How do you value technological assets in companies that are so sort of incredibly important right now, but to be honest, sort of fall a little bit outside the way we teach or taught corporate finance in the past. And or, you know, what's the implication of climate change in corporate finance? How do you value an oil and gas company? And how do you incorporate all of the dialogue that is happening about climate in how you're going to value the assets that these companies have deep underground? Are they going to be stranded assets that will never be monetized? Are they going to be monetized, you know, now or later? You know, so in some sense, there are aspects that have to do with the digital transformation and how this is impacting different aspects of the area of finance. We're investing in private equity. We want to grow our program in private equity. And then finally, we're doing quite a bit in the area of venture capital. So that's sort of, I would say, encapsulates some of the stuff that we're doing in finance.
Thank you. And thank you, Ed, for putting the link in the chat. If you look in the chat, Ed has put the link for the library, the Columbia Library.
Yeah, the other area that it's interesting, and we're doing quite a bit, which Sharon is close to your world, is the area of healthcare. So we're trying to sort of, first of all, deepen our links with Uptown. We call Uptown the medical campus, simply because it's about 45 blocks away from where we are. Both in terms of research and impact, but also in terms of our students. So expose them to our medical center, expose them to pharmaceutical companies with which we have ties, etc. A first glimpse of that is we introduced a project course, like a consulting course, where we put together students from the medical school, but with a lot of students from the business school, and we put them in teams and we have them work on problems. A lot of them essentially contributed by CUIMC. So, you know, you can go into cardiology, or you can go into sort of some kind of area of surgery, or you can go and work in some aspects of their research apparatus, but in some sense, get exposed to the actual incredible machinery that we have uptown, because, you know, CUIMC, Columbia's medical campus, and the hospital affiliated with that is one of the largest such institutions in the country. So in some sense, you get exposure, not just to how the system works, but you get exposed to how the system works in one of the 5 or 8 largest such institutions in this country. So you get to see both the complexity and the opportunities on how to actually try to work with that. So that's something that we hope to be able to do more.
Will you be looking at bringing in any startups in that relationship?
Yes, and we have a friend of the school, an alum of the school, that used to run the healthcare practice at BCG, and he retired, and he's now an executive in residence here, but he's sort of connecting us to a bunch of companies, from startups to large pharma to biotech, in addition to sort of deep connections with our own Uptown campus, to really bring them all within that context. We've also have quite a bit, quite the emphasis over the last 5 years, I would say, not just the last year or two, in sort of looking at health tech and applications and opportunities in that space, in particular startups. Now, I believe that area, of course, has accelerated dramatically in the last 2 years. And in some sense, whatever we were doing in 2019 seems almost ancient compared to what we could be doing in the future. In addition to telehealth, or like things that we could have done for quite some time, same as online teaching, but we were not doing. And you know, our medical campus switched to doing everything over Zoom, or over their Connect portal, as they call it, in a span of 3 days. The same way we shut down the university on a Sunday and we started doing virtual teaching on Wednesday. Some had to do it on Monday. The reality is 12 hours notice, but in some sense, the same thing happened in healthcare. And that will introduce tremendous amount of change over there and opportunity. So absolutely.
We have another question. Will transportation be provided from the main campus to Manhattanville for the disabled?
The answer to that is yes. There is some transportation already in place, and the plan is that we will increase the frequency and intensity of transportation between the two campuses after we move in. The reason for the delay is that, we're kind of going to bring a lot more people into that new campus vis-a-vis the number of people that are already there. But the answer is yes. Are many or most core courses now taught using a flipped classroom approach? Does the tier classroom a useful? Yeah, okay, John, that's a good question. So the short answer to your question is no. We're not using flipped classroom. Is essentially this process where, let's say, I deliver a course or I deliver some snippets of my lecture online. You watch it the night before, maybe you do some small exercises with your computer, and then when you come to the class, we do something different. I don't lecture, but we apply the knowledge, we go into a case. It's much more experiential and hands-on. So we have not transitioned the core courses into this model as of yet. But as you can imagine, we have a group of people, a small group of people that is very actively thinking about that. And in particular, thinking what courses are well served to actually potentially be taught using this flipped classroom approach. Not every course will be well suited, but we're trying to identify what courses will actually be well suited for that and then try to explore it. You're right that sort of tiered amphitheater classrooms are not ideal for that. Beauty about our new buildings that Ed was describing is we have really a lot of classrooms that are both flat and reconfigurable in a way that we can imagine having class where people are working in teams in conference tables rather than sort of sitting in an amphitheater side by side as opposed to be co-working in teams. So we will have the physical footprint to be able to do a lot more of that. Are classes still recorded now that they're back in person? How will alumni auditing work in the future? Is there a way to make auditing viewing classes virtually easier for alumni? So classes are recorded, and also right now classes are still being done on Zoom. So even though everybody is in person, we still have out of the 600 new students and 800 almost returning students. So out of these 1,400 MBA students, we still have 20 or 30 that are somewhere in the world that haven't actually made it here. So these people can still continue to participate over Zoom. So all classes are recorded, and now how we're going to allow alumni to be able to sort of pop in and watch some of these, that's something that I should sort of bring up to my colleagues to see whether we can actually expand or augment this ability. Whether we allow the number in the past, alumni always had the ability to participate in or come and audit classes as long as there were physical space in the classroom. Now, obviously, that puts a very hard constraint. And in addition to that, it puts a constraint on the fact that the person needs to physically come to URIS or WARC. So maybe we can actually evolve how this happens. I don't think it will evolve by allowing hundreds of people auditing a class, because that by itself changes the nature of the class. But it's possible that we may be able to allow for a few more people to do it. And in addition to that, maybe do it virtually rather than in person. So I'm making a note to actually float that to the school. A lot of these classes, or some of these classes, are also, we're trying to make them available online through our lifelong learning platform we call Alumni Edge. So for those of you that don't know that, you should get to know that some of these courses get recorded in a better way rather than just recording the classroom, but sort of done in an online format and then made available through Alumni Edge. And we're going to continue to sort of add courses in this area. So hopefully that will be of interest by itself. All right, so maybe Sharon, you can close us and we can give everybody 12 minutes back to their morning. But I'll first thank everyone for joining us and thank you, Sharon, for everything that you do, and Ed, of course, for making sure that we can actually move into our beautiful new campus in the not so distant future. Sharon, to you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Dean Maglaras, and thank you, Ed Moroni, for your discussion and your insights and for answering the questions at this morning's session. I hope to see you all at future Hermes Society events as members of our Distinguished Leadership Giving Society. And for anyone that's interested in becoming a member of the Hermes Society, or to get more involved or to attend future events, we will follow up this event with contact information for Sharon E, who's our Executive Director of Individual Giving, and John Link, who's our Director of Individual Giving. So please look out for their emails and their communication. And thank you all so much for spending your morning with us, and go on and have a great day. And we'll see you in Manhattanville, hopefully in a few months.